What's up, guys and gals, and welcome to part 2. Time to cover the unknown Arcana choices. Before I start on the subject of Arcanas, I must say the usual disclaimers. I am in no means an expert, just a fan and a researcher. There's a chance I might make a mistake. If you see one, point it out immediately, and I will put a correction in the annotations. Some of the info presented in this video is based on theory, so not everything I say is concrete evidence. This next disclaimer is a new one though. The list of arcanas given for each character in this video is tentative and subject to change. You may disagree with me, which is good, because I had a hard time with this subject. Seriously, I made an Excel spreadsheet to help with the guesses and still couldn't narrow it down enough. I would also like to know your guesses in the comments below. With the disclaimer said, let's look at where these unknown character arcanas could fit. But before I start, I must stress the trend of the first 14 arcanas. This is because in the past games, party members mostly fell within the first 14 arcanas, with Teddy from Persona 4 being an exception to the rule. I do not know if the trend will follow into Persona 5, but I account for the trend within my guesses. Boy, did it add more work to writing this script. Another thing to consider is that when it comes to Persona 5, typical roles may extend past the boundaries of an arcana since it's a new title with a new spin on it. Also, I noticed something while looking through all of these selected arcanas on my spreadsheet, and the Fortune Arcana fit into the possibilities for most of the characters, and you may notice that trend as the video progresses. One last thing, at the end of each character I will state the order of most likely arcanas from a group of choices for them, so don't think just because I bring up an arcana in the explanation before another, I consider it a better choice. I'm just explaining all of the possibilities. The first character arcana we will discuss possibilities for is Morgana. Morgana is a mystery. I mean, we don't even know if she has a gender yet, even though a lot of people pick sides, but the developers have been very quiet on this subject so far, and there is the possibility of her being, well, genderless. For the purpose of progression, I will just say she and her. Anyways, Morgana's personality traits are quite a lot to consider. She is of the other world and doesn't know her origins, suggesting something similar to Teddy in the Star Arcana. But that doesn't make sense, as the Star Arcana is usually a character that is either full of hope or likes to spread joy to others, while burdened with an internal conflict. The Devil Arcana can make sense for Morgana, as she is cheeky and devilish, but Devil Arcanas have a hard time connecting to others, and usually try to avoid becoming close. She grows attached very quickly to the Phantom Thieves, so unless her character arc involves her using the thieves for her own agenda, but then regretting it, I can only jot this down as a good possibility. The last possibility for Morgana in my mind may give me a little flack from the viewer. This is based around the abilities Morgana has. She is a Garu user with the capabilities here and there for healing spells. While just basing it off spells has no full value towards a definite answer, the Magician Arcana jumps to mind. The only personality trait that fits with Magician Arcana is that she is a go-getter and is enthusiastic when it comes to talking with the protagonist. Ever since Ryuji was confirmed to be the Chariot, I was wondering where the role of either Emperor or Magician would land if it was on the team. Emperor is out of the question because they tend to use Lightning and Zeo spells. So in order of the most likely, we have Devil, Magician, and Star. And of course, I stated the trend of Fortune earlier, and that can also fit, but not personality-wise, which is why I didn't bring it up earlier. The second character arcana we will look at is Yusuke. And forget how hard Morgana's mystery was, Yusuke is on a whole nother level. For some reason, Atlas has decided to hold back information on him. All we know about his personality traits are that he is reclusive. A little melancholy is detected in his appearance. He likes to stand away from the group at first. And lastly, he is susceptible of being tricked or being taken advantage of by those close to him. It almost sucks that the Hanged Man Arcana was already taken, since it was one of my major guesses before. But oh well. The one guess I have within the 14 rule is Temperance, since he seems to be a loner dealing with issues of making new friends or connecting to new people thanks to internal strife while in a bad situation. The bad situation being his legal guardian is a a-hole and his parents are dead. However, There is a problem with the Temperance Arcana, as the personas of that Arcana usually are beasts and not humans. The guess I have that breaks the 14 rule is the Moon Arcana. A lot of you suggested the Moon Arcana, and I must say, it fits. This Arcana shows a tendency for good physical attacks. Since Yusuke's weapons are katanas or katana-like weapons, and assault rifles, it makes sense that he could do a good bit of physical-based attacks, while still holding the options for magic attacks. So my guesses for Yusuke is just the Moon Arcana as a very likely thing, but we also have to consider the first 14, which Temperance works, but I already explained the issues with that. Alright, moving on to Makoto. I have to get this out of the way first when talking about her. A lot of you have suggested that she is the Priestess Arcana since her persona is Joanna the fictional Popes, which the Priestess Arcana is based off of. Not to mention, if you look at her collar, you can see the letters B and J, which is a staple of the Priestess Arcana. However, there seems to be some discrepancies with this allocation. She seems to have a good physical attack basis, and we haven't seen any healing spells from her as of yet. Her nuclear attack can fit within the Arcana, and her situation and her personality fits within the bounds of the Arcana. But there is a nagging thought in the back of my head suggesting that the Priestess is not a perfect fit. Until we see a healing spell or a comparative physical attack with another player of the same level, we cannot guarantee this connection with the Priestess Arcana being legitimate. However, it's one of the strongest possibilities out there. The closest second is the Empress, but it conflicts with my next character Arcana guess for Haru. Fortune could also work, as it involves people who seek their own destiny and usually have a tie into family, but Fortune does not necessarily cover the leadership and academic aspects Makoto displays. So, altogether, Priestess, Empress, and Fortune. All of them can potentially fit, but they all have their own problems. This was one of the characters I had to focus on, and in fact, it nearly destroyed the spreadsheet and I almost had to start over again. Next, we move on to Haru. The easiest and most obvious Arcana guess for her is the Empress. She carries herself with grace, she can do well with both physical and magic attacks, and she has a knack for not caring about making friends or relationships, or seeming like she doesn't care about those. She seems business-oriented, and the Empress Arcana is almost a definite Arcana for her. However, we must also consider if there is another, and the closest second is the Fortune Arcana. She actively goes out to seek her own fate and doesn't surrender to the situation given to her. She is dealing with a parental figure that has set up her life for her, basically. The only problem with this Arcana is that the personas of the Fortune Arcana usually deal in wind magics. Whatever the case may be, the Empress is still my top choice for her. Alright, gonna move on to a really skeptical one, but just trust me for a second. We're moving on to Goro, the character we have the least information on. There's only one Arcana I can think of at this point with the lack of info, and that is the Justice Arcana. This guess is based around two things. The fact that other people call him a detective, and the likelihood presented in some of my previous videos about him using light-based magics. It makes sense for him. And even though this is very skeptical as we have barely anything on him, I can't shake off this connection. It just fits too well. Well, that's the end of my tentative guesses, guys and gals. Remember, they are subject to change as more info comes out. I know some of you disagree with the things I have said and have your own guesses, so leave them down in the comments. If you do have a list of guesses, please consider a second most likely Arcana. If you have any questions on this subject or have any theories of your own and you would like me to reply to them, start off your comment with red and I'll get back to you. These two videos were the most difficult pair of videos I've ever had to make because it seemed no matter what I said, somewhere I would stick my foot in my mouth. It's nice to have this done with. And the cool thing is, after a little pressure from people in the comments, I'm going to make a part 3 about potential cooperation links and do a little focus on the Velvet Twins because there's conflicting opinion about them. Well, anyways, thanks to all the community for throwing up their own theories and sending support and everything. It has been so nice. And even though this was so frustrating, I actually had to open Excel for the first time since college. It was fun. I mean, yeah, I hit myself over the head a couple of times because I couldn't figure some things out, but it was fun. So thanks for watching. Again, I cannot think of a closer. So,
Goodbye.